Thrive. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Live with Thrive. I am Dr. Allison Harris Welcher with Thrive Life Coaching, and I'm so excited that you all are here joining this evening. It looks like we are linked in and linked up with LinkedIn Live. It looks like the Facebook Live is going. I am hoping Instagram Live is going. If not, I am going to work on that in the background, but we are not going to let it stop us this evening. I am so excited this evening to have a conversation with Brielle Bryant-Erales with our episode Thriving Beyond Scarcity, Empowering Black and Brown Mothers to Build a Life of Abundance and Prosperity. And so our special guest this evening is definitely going to bring us a ton of knowledge, and I'm excited to introduce her, and I'm going to bring her to the stage now so you can see her face. Hi, Brielle.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Tonight, we're hoping to have a very thoughtful dialogue delving into this topic of empowering Black and Brown mothers to build a life of abundance and prosperity. And so we'll explore some practical strategies to overcome scarcity mindset and unlock a world of financial freedom. We know that we are living in a world and a space today of inflation, of debt, of gender pay inequity. And so there are so many things stacked against us. So we really believe this is a very important conversation for us to have. And so during this time, we're going to, talk about the specific challenges that face Black and Brown women and mothers especially, and hopefully provide some practical tools and strategies for our time together. We're going to get to know Brielle just a little bit before we dive into the content. And for any guests out there, if you could, please go ahead and comment on whatever platform you are on, and let us know where you are tuning in from. Let us know your city and your state. We'd love to know. So, Brielle, welcome. How are you today?
Good. I feel like today was sunny outside here in Boston, so I feel like that helps me a lot.
Yes, yes. Well, we are so glad that you are here with us. And so wanted just to get to know you a little bit better. And so we'll start there. We'll do a little either or game. And so I'll start actually with spend a day at the beautiful beaches of Los Angeles or enjoy the harbor views in Boston.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. And tell the
Yeah.
folks about Los Angeles. They don't know you yet.
Okay. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and I currently live in Boston. And the winters are rough and long, so I'm ready to like go to where it's sunny. I'm excited for the sun to come out.
Absolutely. Rough and long is correct. We have lived in Boston, my husband and I, and it's a long, long winter for sure. So next one, conquer a challenging workout at the gym or unwind with a relaxing yoga session.
Conquer a challenging workout.
All right. Are you like a CrossFit kind of person?
No, but when I'm able to conquer it, I'm like, wow, I actually did that. Because I just started going to the gym recently,
Yeah.
so since September of last year. And that's been super helpful for me on my journey of just life because it just forces me to do hard things. So a lot of people assume that I'm athletic because I'm tall. I'm actually like 5'10".
Okay.
And people are just like, oh, you must play sports. I'm like, no, I'm just tall for no reason. But now I'm actually going to the gym and seeing, oh, this is actually challenging. Like the first 2 days, I started crying. I was like, this is hard. Why am I going to the gym? But now I'm seeing so much improvement since I've been going consistently. I try to work out like 4 days a week since September of last year. So to
Okay.
go from 0 to like 4, yeah, that's been an insane journey.
Absolutely. That definitely sounds like a win. Sounds like a win. Let's do a few more. Dive into a thought provoking book that explores social justice issues or binge watch a captivating TV series.
Maybe I'm not really a reader, so I'll probably prefer to watch a movie or a series. And I don't even watch TV either. I mainly watch YouTube videos.
Okay. Okay.
So both of them were kind of challenging, but I prefer to watch a movie than to read, which is something I need to work on. I'm going to work on eventually, but not right now.
It's all right. It's all right. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. I support it. Let's do a few more. Volunteer your time and skills to support a nonprofit organization or travel to different countries and experience diverse cultures.
I'm gonna feel guilty if I say travel, but I feel like I can like volunteer in different ways, and I can. It's rare that I'll be able to travel outside the country, so I'd rather travel and then volunteer whenever I can, wherever I am. So travel because that's more rare than volunteering. I can volunteer wherever.
For
So
sure. For sure. I love it. Love it. Our last one here, this might be a tough one for you. Indulge in the Southern comfort food of Alabama or savor the seafood and New England specialties of Boston.
I love soul food, but it's so unhealthy. Like I went to HBCU and we had fried chicken Wednesdays,
Oh,
soul
yes.
food Fridays, and I'm like, that is not good. So I'd rather eat seafood and eat healthier.
That is fair, but I'd love to hear that the HBCUs are keeping it consistent because we at Spelman also had fried chicken Wednesdays. And I actually don't eat fried chicken, but it is helpful to know that they are keeping it consistent for the people.
Yeah. Well, they had fried fish Fridays. Did
I
you
do
go
do
to?
a fried fish. I like a fried
Okay.
fish. I love it. I love it. Well, let's get into the business of the hour, if you will. I always like to start with some framing when we dive into any conversation, and so going to provide a little bit of data and historical background as to why this topic is so important this evening. And if folks have been following my Facebook page or any of my social medias, you probably saw a post today about gender pay equity. And this is not something that is new. It's actually something that's been going on. But as my post highlights, this issue is exacerbated for Black and Brown women and people who are mothers as well. And so the racial wealth gap, is deeply rooted in historical injustices and systemic barriers, and it continues to persist today, right? We don't have to prove that to anyone. We know this to be true. But in particular, a survey conducted by Goldman Sachs, 1 million Black women, highlights that 40% of Black women in the United States have an annual household income below $50,000. So 40% of Black women have an annual household income less than 50,000 compared to 24% of the general population. And Black women also have fewer career advancement opportunities and experience lower rates of employer provided health insurance, retirement saving plans, paid sick leave, and a number of other things. And as you can only imagine, this just adds additional stress onto Black women in particular as it relates to getting the necessities that they need, and especially accessing quality and affordable childcare for their children. These statistics don't get any better, quite honestly, for Latinas or Native American women or other women, particularly of color. We find that Latina women actually are compensated just 57% of what a white man is paid. And that data actually comes from 2022. And just a few more pieces of data I would like to highlight. Again, this is based on some surveys and research, particularly from Goldman Sachs. 71% of Black women feel like they live paycheck to paycheck, and that is comparison to 63% of the general population. Let's pause because that's not good for any of us, right? 63% isn't good either, but 71% of Black women. And additionally, 37% of Black women have medical debt versus 29% of US adults. So I think you can see the trend, right? The data for Black women just looks a lot more bleak in terms of financial wellness, financial wealth opportunities in general. And so we're here with you today, Brielle, because your expertise and your work is around financial wellness. You're a financial debt coach. And so just start by telling us, what is your background and motivation behind this work, especially as it relates to Black and Brown women in their personal and professional lives?
Oh, wow, those statistics are kind of scary. But I guess a little bit of background about me. So I'm Brielle. Little backstory: born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I actually went to high school in Compton, which is very interesting. And then I went to Tuskegee University in Alabama, and I graduated in 2018 with about $45,000 of debt. So once I graduated and I saw how much debt I owed, it was kind of burdensome. I'm just like, what in the world? This is a lot. Why didn't I focus more on this when I was in college and try to pay it off as soon as I can? So shortly after graduating, I moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and I took a financial literacy course where they talked about hating debt, not being comfortable with it, and all those things. But my mindset was, isn't it too late? Like, I already had this debt. Why didn't anyone teach me about this earlier? So my first job out of college was in tech sales, and I hated it. I hated tech sales so much. But it was a pivotal moment for me when they fired me, because my mindset was, if I'm able to survive on the bare minimum, because I had to apply for unemployment and food stamps, then if I make more money and I live the same lifestyle temporarily, keyword temporarily, not forever, then I could put more money towards debt. So that's basically what I did. January 2020, I got a higher paying job after being laid off and then having a temporary like side job. Well, not side job, but it was like a temporary job. So I got a higher paying job in January 2020, making only like $50,000 a year. But I was able to put a minimum of $1,000 a month towards debt because I lived the same lifestyle that I did on unemployment, because I knew it was a temporary season for me. And then October of 2020 is when I started my own financial coaching business, because I realized that I wasn't the only person who didn't know this information when it came to debt. I realized that other people didn't know how to budget. Other people didn't know how to create a debt elimination plan. Other people didn't know the importance of an emergency fund. So I started my own financial coaching business where I partner with different organizations to lead financial literacy workshops. And I also do one-on-one coaching sessions as well. But I realized my passion when it came to like one-on-one coaching sessions and also group coaching sessions were for women of color who were overwhelmed by their debt, just to give them a positive outlook. I feel like sometimes we can be discouraged by what we see in the world and feel like a lot of things are impossible. But something that I'll talk about a little later is like the mindset is super important. If you go into it thinking you'll be in debt for the rest of your life, you will be in debt for the rest of your life. But if you go into it thinking that you will be debt free, then you will be debt free. So October of 2021, a year after starting my business, is when I became debt free. So if you include my car that I had to unexpectedly buy, I paid off around $55,000 in 3.5 years, making under $60,000. And it's not all about the money, but it's about the mindset behind it.
Right.
Because I also looked at it as, like I mentioned earlier, I was only making $50,000 a year, but I was able to put aside $1,000 a month minimum. But my goal was to put $2,000 towards that. I didn't know where I was going to find that extra $1,000, but I
Right.
was very hopeful, and I knew that there were opportunities for me to make a lot of money. But a lot of people just go based off what they see. They might just say, "Oh, I can only see me putting $10 towards debt or $100 towards debt, so I'm just going to limit myself and just go based off of that." But instead of limiting yourself, saying, "Okay, how can I make it possible for me to put additional 500? How can I make it possible for me to put an extra 600?" Instead of saying this is impossible, kind of similar to what Robert Kiyosaki said. He said, "How can I make this possible?" should be the question. So
Mm.
that's a little bit about my journey.
I love it. And that question, how can I make this possible? So you're going to help us understand how we can make this possible. So you told us a little bit about your journey. So talk with us around this concept of scarcity. What is a scarcity mindset? How would you define it? And what is its impact on individuals' finances?
Yeah, so a scarcity mindset is basically when you focus on the lack of something, whether that's time or money. I remember watching this video by Alex Hermanzi, and he talked about like the power of I am. So if you say I am broke, I am anxious, I would never be good with money, I would never be rich, then your body feels that impact of your words. But if you say, I am working on it, I am growing, I am learning, like your body feels that as well. So he said, if you say a negative word, say, I have a tendency, but that's not who you are. Like you have a tendency to be overwhelmed with money, but I am working on it. I have a tendency to overspend, but I am growing. I have a tendency to be anxious, but I am healing. Like, so instead of saying I am in a negative word, making sure that it's a positive word behind I am. And if it is a negative word, making sure you say I have a tendency, because not like that's not who you are.
Right.
So a scarcity mindset can definitely impact a lot of things. Like the famous quote says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Like if you think that you'll be in debt for the rest of your life, you're right. So like if you think that because
Yeah.
you are a woman, that positive things won't happen to you, then you're right. But for me, a lot of people ask me like, how is it being a Black woman entrepreneur in the financial field? And I'm like, it's great, because people specifically want to hear from me because I'm a Black woman who looks different from the typical financial culture financial advisor. Instead of me looking at it as woe is me, like I'm a Black woman, I look at it as wow, like it's so many different opportunities. People specifically want to hear me because I look different. Like I am different, and I can bring more people up with me and inspire more people because I look different. So I don't let the limitations limit me.
Yeah, I love that so much. Just the affirmations and really helping to understand more clearly, like what is possible, right, for your life, and not seeing where you currently are as the end all be all,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a journey. I love what you said. Like, I might be anxious now, but I am healing, right? Like, there is something that I'm working toward. And so, talk with us around, what are some of the specific challenges that you see for Black and Brown mothers attempting to build a life of abundance and prosperity?
Yeah. So I feel like this could be a controversial thing, but I'm saying this out of love. A lot of people can tend to have a victim mentality and just be okay with it. Of
Yeah.
course, like things happen to us. Of course, there's a lot of things against us,
Hmm.
but a victim mentality benefits no one. And I try to encourage people to not have it. Like I know things happen, things that are rough, but I remember watching this video by Myron Golden, and he says that our mindset or our victim mentality impacts us more than what actually happens sometimes. Like we dwell so much on it that leaves so much damages, like compared to what actually, but things happen though. I'm not trying to like diminish or like
Sure.
belittle what happened, but I feel like just staying there and dwelling there and constantly like repeating situations is not beneficial. So I feel like something that could be beneficial to women of color, instead of to avoid that mindset and to dwell on things that are like true and pure and holy and good, and like knowing that there are plenty of opportunities out
Hmm.
there for you to make extra money. There are plenty of opportunities for you to pay off debt. And when it comes to paying off debt, it might sound simple, but finding ways to increase your income, or finding ways to decrease your expenses, or finding ways to try to do both. But of course, it sounds easier said than done, but it it can be that way. And
Yeah.
also knowing that it's a temporary sacrifice. Like you might have to sacrifice working extra hours for 3 months, 6 months, but it's not a forever thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to paying off debt, when it comes to building wealth, like you have to make sacrifices. It might hurt, it might be challenging, but no, it is temporary. Like it's not a
Yeah.
forever thing. And that's
Right.
something I have to encourage people, that it's
Yeah.
not forever, it's temporary. This is not forever, it's temporary. Like just repeat that to yourself. Like you're not going to be in it forever. Because if you think forever, then you won't even start. But if
Yeah.
you think, okay, I can do this I can sacrifice for 3 months, I can sacrifice for 2 months, like that encourages people more. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And tell us why, like, this idea of debt is so burdensome, right? Like, people have different relationships with money for sure, but from your perspective and your expertise, why is debt, right? Why is that something people should be fighting to get out of?
Yeah, so I'm a Christian, and there's a scripture that says in Proverbs, like the borrower is slave to the lender, and I truly believe that. Like
Mhm.
when you borrow money, you become a slave to the lender. They tell you what to do, then you have to do it. They tell you how much to pay, then you have to pay it. So by paying it off, imagine how much freedom you have. Like,
Mhm,
to
mhm,
put that extra money towards debt, to put that, I mean, put that extra money towards savings, to put that extra money towards investments, to put that extra money towards your kids' future. So by paying off your debt faster gives you freedom to do whatever you want with your
mhm,
money instead of having to pay back the government, pay back the credit card companies, answer the phone because these people are calling you or whatever. So it's just, I think it just requires a lot of intentionality. You can't be debt free on accident.
mm,
And you just have to be intentional, just like I said earlier, just make sacrifices. And I think another thing that might be helpful is to write down your why. Like, why do you
mhm,
want to be debt free? Why do you want to be wealthy? And I remember Anthony O'Neill said this. It doesn't have to be this extreme, but if it has to, then it has to. But he said your why should make you cry. Like you being debt free should make you cry. Like, if you want to be debt free, so your kids will never have to experience debt, so your kids will never have to experience what you've experienced, so your parents, so you can retire your parents, so you can buy a house and never have to struggle like you did before. Like, your why should make you cry, or like your why should be so impactful that it motivates you during the time you feel discouraged and feel like giving up. And also having that written down somewhere where you see it often. So if you want to have that on your phone, if you want to have that on your laptop screen or something, just seeing your why written down can be impactful instead of just writing it down in a notebook and never seeing it again.
right. Absolutely. So, so, so powerful. Thank you for sharing those tips. And so you talked a bit about freedom, and would love to hear just what your perspective is on money mindset, right? What does that mean? That might be unfamiliar to some listeners, or maybe some folks are thinking about, some of the popular songs that glorify money, but like, what does a money mindset really mean? And how do you think it relates to our discussion of empowering Black and Brown mothers to thrive financially?
Yeah, so basically, my money mindset is your beliefs when it comes to money. So it's the way that you approach giving, saving, spending, and earning money.
Mhm,
And I realized that your money mindset comes from the way that you were raised. Like, how did you see your parents use money? Um,
mhm,
Dave Ramsey talks about, I know some people don't really like him, but I take some things here and there from him.
yeah,
He talks about there being like an extreme saver and an extreme spender. Extreme savers um, tend to only save, but then they don't enjoy the fruits of their labor. And extreme spenders don't save for emergency funds. So it's
mhm,
important to like have a balance between both. And sometimes we have parents who either are extreme savers and
mhm,
then we become that and don't know how to enjoy our money. Or sometimes we have parents who are extreme spenders and don't know how to save for emergency funds. So your beliefs come a lot from your parents or what you've seen growing up or how you're raised.
right.
And yeah, just trying to figure out how do you have a healthy balance between, okay, spending money and also saving money and also giving money.
Mm,
So
mm,
I think it's important to like discover what are your thoughts about money. Like, how do you feel when you hear about money? How do you feel when you hear debt? How do you
mm,
feel when you look at your numbers? Can
yeah,
also be impactful as well, but
yeah,
not being overwhelmed by it. A lot of people are afraid to look at their bank statements, afraid to look at their debt, but don't be afraid. Just look at it and just breathe. There's something called the 4-7-8 breathing technique, which
okay.
can be helpful when it comes to looking at your numbers. So you breathe in 4 seconds, pause 7 seconds, and then breathe out 8 seconds.
Uh-huh.
So that can just help with like not being overwhelmed when it comes to looking at your numbers. So yeah.
Really good practical strategies. And what I appreciate about what you said, so many things, is one, that it's understanding your relationship with money, right? I have two small sons who are just love coins and love money, right? Like, they love like feeling it, and helping them make sense. Well, money buys you things, and understanding, is that a need or a want, or do you want to save that money? And so I'm curious to know, given that our money mindsets and our relationship with money starts usually with like our parents and what we've seen in childhood, as you're working with adults, what do you often find to be the biggest like barrier for them? Like, what's the mindset shift that they often need to make?
When it comes to, sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah. When it comes to them like moving to a money mindset,
Okay.
what's the thing that's like holding them back to have a better relationship with money and to really think about budgeting and saving and, not overspending?
Yeah, so I would say something that could be helpful is not comparing yourself to other people. I feel like a lot of people look on social media, they see people with new cars, new clothes, new
Mm,
shoes, new phones, new husbands, and then they're just like, "Oh, like I need that. I need to do this. I need to do that." And then they don't enjoy where they are. So, one thing to do is like not compare yourself to others. Another thing to do is to focus on the ways that you've grown. Like compare yourself to yourself. How you were last year could be super beneficial instead of to other people, because everyone has different journeys, everyone has different situations happen. Another thing that could be helpful is to like write down your financial goals. A lot of people have health goals, life goals, but not many people have financial goals. So just writing down, okay, when do you want to pay off your debt? How much do you want to have in your emergency fund? How much do you want to have when you retire? So
mm,
just having that shift of being more future focused instead of so much present focused. A lot of people are just so focused on the present, like I want this, so I'm going to buy it. I want this, so I'm going to get it regardless if I can't afford it. But if we have the mindset of thinking more towards the future, and like our generations to come, like your kids and your kids, like that would be more impactful for us instead of just being so focused on the present.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, just shifting their mindset to how can I stop comparing myself? What areas have I grown in?
yeah.
And being more future focused instead of so focused on the present.
Yeah, love that. As you mentioned, this idea of not comparing yourself, it made me think about a book that I'm actually reading with my women's church group called Killing Comparison by Nona Jones. Um,
Oh my gosh. I
and
haven't read that, but she's really cool. I watched her videos.
yeah, so just this idea, right? That comparison thing is not just about looks or other pieces. It's about lifestyle and about, money. It's remove the comparison, right? Sit in what you have, set your own, vision and goals for yourself for sure. So we're running up to time, and so want to ask just a few more questions. We've talked a lot about financial, wellness and getting clear about that money mindset, but I'm wondering what are the potential ramifications and effects of not prioritizing financial empowerment and overcoming this scarcity mindset, particularly for Black and Brown mothers. So let's just say, like, I'm already overwhelmed, right? Like, I can't think about anything else. But what if we just keep putting it off? What's gonna happen?
Yeah. I feel like if you don't change things now, then you'll be in the same situation that you are in now. Not much will change. So I use this example of two people. Usually in my workshops, I use this example of two people who are like the same age, who make the same amount of money, who have the same amount of debt, and they probably live in like the same state, but the only difference is are their mindsets. So for example, if they both are 30 years old, they both have $30,000 of debt, and they both make $60,000 living in, let's say, Georgia. Um, and if one person has an abundance mindset and one person has a scarcity mindset, you'll see the long-term effects of that. So I talk about how for the person named Sarah who has a healthy mindset, um, and let's say Taylor has an unhealthy mindset.
Mhm.
So Sarah budgets. She makes sure that she writes down her financial goals. She makes sure that she pays more than the minimum payment. Some people just pay the minimum payment and expect to get out of debt fast. Like, no, you have to pay either double or triple that amount.
Right.
She also makes sure that she contributes to her retirement fund and all those things. But Taylor, she doesn't have a budget. She mainly uses her credit card. She doesn't pay her payments on time when it comes to her credit card. She doesn't have any financial goals. She doesn't invest. So I like to give the example of two people who are the same age, make the same amount of money, have the same amount of debt, and live in the same town. But the
Right.
difference is their mindset. So I talk about the outcome of 5 years later. So 5 years later, Sarah, she is almost done with paying off her debt. She has a lot of money in her investments. And then 5 years later for Taylor, she still has debt. She has no investment. She has no emergency fund
Mhm.
or anything like that. And then 20 years later, Sarah's debt free. She puts a lot of money in her retirement fund, and she has an emergency fund to lean back on. And then Taylor, she has no emergency fund. She's still in debt. She's still in credit card debt. She still has student loan. So I like to talk about the importance of your mindset. Like, you can be in whatever situation you want to be in, or you like what happens to you, but if your mindset is like, this is impossible, I can't do this, like, I'm a mom, I have 3 kids, how could I do this? That's not going to be beneficial. So the question should be like, how can I make this happen? If you are a Christian, praying and asking God to like bless you with opportunities to increase your income. Like I mentioned earlier, I was only making $50,000 a year, but I was like, I know that there are other ways that I can make income. So I was coaching people on the side. I was doing financial coaching with organizations. And I remember the most that I made from leading a workshop was like $2,000 in 1 hour. And I'm like, I put that towards my savings. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this money. A lot of people, once they get unexpected money or whatever, they use that towards shopping, they use that towards traveling, they use that to other things. But it's like, no, your financial goals are priority, everything else is secondary. Like, vacations are secondary, gifts are secondary, everything else, like, whatever, making sure that your top priority is, okay, if once I hit my goal for this month of putting money in my mercy fund, whatever I have left over, then I'll use that for a vacation, then I'll use that for eating out and going spending money on clothes. But a lot of times people just put whatever's left over towards their mercy fund or debt, which it shouldn't be that way. So a scarcity mindset can definitely affect you in the long run. Going back to what I mentioned earlier, if we're so focused on the present and then the future, like, and we're not focused on the future, like, once you hit 60 years old, you're going to be stressed out because you have no money. So I think it's also important to like connect with a financial advisor as well. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't talk about investments that much, but just to talk to a financial advisor to tell you, okay, how much do you want to have when you retire? How old do you want to be when you retire? How much do you need to put aside each month for you to retire with that amount of money? It's super important, instead of once you hit 60 years old and then you're like, oh, where's the money at? And then you have no money because you didn't plan for it. So it's best to start now to like having financial plans and investing as much as you can, instead of waiting till it's the last minute, because it not only affects you, but it affects other people. And the last thing I'm going to say is, I remember someone saying, when some people say, I want to make enough to be comfortable. That's a selfish mindset, because you're not thinking about how much money you can give to other people. You're not thinking about your generations to come. You're not thinking about your kids' kids. You're not thinking about, it's like, you need to make more than enough that's comfortable. You need to find ways to increase your income. Like, you can't just live on the bare minimum. That can be selfish, especially if you have kids. Like, you have to think about the next generations. So we got to get out of the mindset of being wealthy is evil. Like, being wealthy is not evil. Imagine if there were more Christians who are wealthy, who could give to people in the church, who can give and serve and like build schools and things like that. But since that's not really happening, then we have to get what we get.
Yeah. So many thoughtful words. I so appreciate it. And as you were talking, Brielle, I couldn't help but think, there's this thing called of like locus of control, right? What can you control? And don't want to discount at all that gender pay inequity is a real thing, right? Like, Black and brown women are not being paid equally or equitably as they should be. And what is the thing that we can control right now on our day to day, right? And so making good choices, about how we use our money, how we budget, how we save, having a money mindset, saying those affirmations, speaking it into existence. And so as we conclude our discussion on this topic, what is your top recommendation of how Black and brown mothers can thrive towards financial freedom?
Yeah, so I'll give maybe 3 tips. So number 1, create a budget. So I use the Every Dollar app. So it's a zero-based budget. So if you make, let's say, $3,000 a month, you have to give all $3,000 of those that you make a place to go. So that's super helpful. So a budgeting tool, or if you feel comfortable just putting on Excel, you can do that as well. But when it comes to budgeting, looking at your budget before making purchases instead of looking at it after. Another thing is to have an emergency fund. A lot of people don't have an emergency fund to lean back on. So if you can have at least $1,000 or 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, that would be great because emergencies do happen. Another thing is to write down your debt amount and then also write down a date of when you want to pay it off by. Because some people just say, I want to be debt free. So that's a dream. But in order to make it a goal, you have to have action plans and having a date. So a total amount and then a date and then work backwards and see how much is that per month. So those are a few things that I find super helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. Brielle, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for those practical tips. I will be sure to add them to the comments on the platforms. Tell us the name of that app again, called Every Dollar.
Every Dollar app by Dave Ramsey.
The Every Dollar app by Dave Ramsey. Excellent. Let us know how folks can find you if they want to just see your money mindset in action, secure your services. How can folks see more of your information?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Your Healthy Wallet, so Your Healthy Wallet. You can also follow me on LinkedIn at Brielle Bryant-Erales. And I do have a group coaching session that starts, I think, not August, March 25th. So if you guys are interested in group coaching sessions on how to pay off debt, how to create a budget, how to build a mercy fund, you can definitely join that by clicking this website link, yourhealthywallet.com, and then go to services and go to the group coaching session part. So yeah, those are a few ways you can find me.
Awesome. Brielle, thank you so much for your time. If you are out there still listening live or maybe on replay, if you will please show love to Brielle and maybe drop just a comment on one thing that you learned tonight or something you're thinking about or grappling with based on what she shared with us. Thank you so much. Going to take you off the stage here, Brielle, as I begin to close out. Again, thank you folks for joining Live with Thrive. We do try to come on most Tuesdays and want to just share with you what we have going on here happening in the coming weeks. All right. So up next on Live with Thrive, I am welcoming several new guests. And so up on next Tuesday, March 19th, we'll have Alexia Mitchell from Reset and Heal. We will also have Don Shay Strickland as well on March 26th, and she is a virtual assistant. So hope that you can continue to join in. If you are not following us on social media, please do. Please share, repost, and then we'd love for you to subscribe to our mailing list. And just thank you for joining. Thank you for your support this evening, and hope that you took away some great practical tips around having a money mindset. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.